Good evening, guys. Hope you all are perfectly fine. And now we are having yet another super cool, super awesome, and absolutely amazing session from your favorite biopoint stream, the world of bio. And what else and what's special is that today we are having the CBSE Board 2021 sample paper discussion. Hope the audio is perfect and fine. Yes, let's move forward with the paper discussion for the 2020-2021 batch and its CBSE sample paper discussion as it is latestly released by the CBSE board. So let's move forward and check what's there ahead, and we are going to discuss the one mark question in this session. All the one mark part of questions in this session. Clear with that? So let's move forward and let's check what's there ahead, and you have to be ready to answer in the comment box about what all things are asked in the question. At least you should give a brief idea of those things which is one of the important point of the answer. Clear with that? So let's check what's ahead. So we have the first question on the screen. Veins are thin-walled and have valves. Why? So the ways we can describe this question: why valves are present in the veins though and it is thin-walled? Why? Why justify the answer? It's a one mark question and the first question from the bio part for your sample paper, right? So why it is thin-walled and have valves? So let's check what's there given. So veins have thin walls and have valves present. Why? Because the blood is no longer under pressure. Blood flows under less pressure, right? The blood of veins flows under less pressure and valves are present in order to ensure the flow of blood in one direction, or in order to prevent the backflow of blood, right? Backflow of blood. Valves are present in the veins. What happens? The blood flows under less pressure, whereas in case of arteries, the blood flows under high pressure, right? With jerks. What in case of veins, the blood flows smoothly. And in order to ensure the flow of blood in one direction, valves are present in veins. Clear with that? So let's check the next question on the screen. How is the wall of small intestine adapted for performing the function of absorption of food? So, how is the wall of small intestine adapted? All of you know the answer, right? So, the wall of small intestine is adapted by the presence of certain structures known as villi, right? So, those structures help in the in the absorption of food, right? So small intestine, as we have studied, it is the last part where digestion takes place and the starting part of absorption. So let's check. The inner wall of small intestine has numerous finger-like projections called as villi. So, and what is their function? They increase the surface area for absorption. So, how much amount of villi, there are more number of villi, the surface area gets increased for the absorption of food nutrients from the food material, right? So this is this is how the small intestine, wall of small intestine, is adapted for performing the function of food, for function of absorption of food. So this is also one of the one mark question from the bio part. So let's move forward. Next question: out of a goat and a tiger, which one will have a longer small intestine? Justify your answer. So if we say it is goat, then why it has a longer small intestine? And if we say it is tiger, why it has a longer small intestine, right? It is one of the question that is asked in your sample paper, one mark question from your bio part. So the answer is that which is given as per your CBSE board, goat. Why goats have longer small intestine? Because they are herbivores. All of you know that they are herbivores. That is, they are feeding on plant and its plant parts. So they eat grass and they need a longer small intestine to allow the cellulose digestion, right? So all of you know that the plants contain a part known as contain a component known as the cellulose, and in order to allow the cellulose digestion, the goats have a longer small intestine. Whereas in case of tiger, it is a carnivorous animal and it doesn't feed on plant parts. Okay, clear with that? Whereas it feeds on what? It feeds on the flesh and meat of animals, right? So that's all for the third question. and hope it's clear till now. And these are the first three questions from the bio part. Okay. So next question, next one more question is that explain how ozone being a deadly poison can still perform an essential function for our environment. How ozone being a deadly poison can still perform of essential function in environment. So all of you know that ozone is a deadly poison, right? So then how it protects our environment. All of you know about ozone layer two. So how it is protecting the environment being a deadly poison? It's a question that's asked, right? So how it protects us? It protects us by preventing the UV rays from entering. Yeah, though the UV rays enters, it what we say, it just reduces its effect, right? So the ozone layer protects us from the harmful effects of UV rays. It just doesn't allow, most of the time it just doesn't allow the UV rays to enter into the earth. Okay, but though through the use of the CFCs we have the ozone layer depletion, and this ozone layer, through this ozone layer depleted holes, this UV rays may enter into the earth, but it might be having a reduced effect. Clear with that? And that's how the deadly poison ozone performs an essential function in our environment. Perfect and fine. So next question on the screen is that give reason why a food chain cannot have more than four trophic levels. Why? Please comment your answers along with that. Okay. So I'm just here reading your chats, but if there is any doubts or clearance, I will too be commenting the clearance in the chat. Okay. So give a reason why food chain cannot have more than four trophic levels. It's one of the one more question asked in your sample paper from your bio part. Right. So the loss of energy at each step is so great that a very little usable energy remains after each trophic level. So as we move from one trophic level to the other, only a little usable energy, an energy that can be used, just remains in that trophic level. Therefore, the loss of energy occurs in each and every step of a trophic level. So, a food chain cannot have more than four trophic levels. Clear with that? So this is another question from the bio part. Okay. Next question. State the role of pancreas in the digestion of food. All of you know that there is a leaf-like structure known as the pancreas in the alimentary canal, right? So what is its role in digestion of food? So, if we say about the digestion of food, the role of pancreas in that is that it secretes digestive juices which contains enzymes like trypsin. Why? For what trypsin is used? Trypsin is used for the digestion of proteins, and lipase. Lipase is used for the breakdown of emulsified fat. So, how this fats? What is emulsification of fat? So, as we have discussed in the previous lecture, fats they get converted into similar substances known as fatty acids and glycerol, right? Clear with that. So this conversion of fats into similar units of fatty acids and glycerols is known as what? Emulsification. So for the breakdown of this emulsified fat, so what are the components of this emulsified fat? Either fatty acids or glycerols, right? So for their further breakdown, we have an enzyme known as what? Lipase. And for the breakdown of proteins into amino acids, we have trypsin. Clear with that? So this is the role of pancreas as a secretion of this digestive juices which contains certain enzymes for digestion of proteins and digestion of emulsified fat. That is enzymes like trypsin and lipase. So that's all for the one mark part. And after that, which we have is an assertion reasoning part, right? So the assertion reasoning part, what we have is that there will be four options given. Okay, a statement that is both assertion and reason. A statement will be given and a reason for that statement. We should assert, or we should what we should make clear that whether the reason given for that statement is matching or not, whether it is suitable reason or whether that reason is a correct explanation of that statement given or not, right? So if it is, if both assertion and reasoning are correct and the reason is a correct explanation of the assertion, we should write it as option A. Okay, so if both are true but the reason is not a correct as explanation of the assertion, it's option B. If assertion is true and reason is false, it's option C. If assertion is false and reason is true, it is option D. So this assertion is what the statement is, or based on that, the reason will be given. We should check whether it is the correct explanation, whether it is true or not. That's what we have to do in this part. Clear with that? This too is given for the 1 mark part. Clear with that? So this is how the sample paper, for what the form of sample paper in the bio part, right? So let's check. First statement given is that, or the assertion, food chain is responsible for the entry of harmful chemicals in our body. So harmful chemicals in our bodies enter through the food chain. Reason given is that the length and complexity of food chain vary greatly. So once again, read the assertion or the statement. The food chain is responsible. So what we can say about that? The food chain for entry of different chemicals into our body, the food chain is responsible, right? Each trophic levels of a food chain. What the even if it is good or bad, they just passed on through each trophic levels of food chain. That is what we say to be a process known as biomagnification, right? Hope you all can see properly. Okay, so this is what is said to be the biomagnification. So then we have to check whether the reason given is a correct explanation of that assertion, and whether we should check whether the reason is true, whether that statement will given as a reason is true. And after that, what we have to check and whether it is matching with it is the correct explanation for the assertion, right? So the reason given is that the length of complexity of food chains vary greatly. The length and complexity of food chains vary greatly is the reason given here. Okay, so what you should check in that is what we should check whether it is true. First, these statements are true. All of you know that the assertion is true, and the reason is also the statement given is true. Next thing, what you have to check is that whether the reason is the correct explanation of the assertion or not. If we check in case of that, we can know that assertion is a correct statement and reason is a correct statement, but the reason given here does not match with the statement given as assertion. So therefore we can mark option B as both assertion and reason are true, but reason is not the correct explanation of the assertion, right? That is that is the answer given. Both assertion and reason are true, but reason is not the correct explanation of the assertion. Next question given. Assertion, greater number of individuals are present in lower trophic levels. Reason, the flow of energy is unidirectional. So all of you know, as we read the statement for the first time itself, greater number of individuals are present in lower levels of lower trophic levels, right? So it is a correct statement. And reason, the flow of energy is unidirectional. That too is a correct statement. Exactly. So what we can say next, what we have to check whether it is the correct explanation or not, right? So if we check whether it is a correct explanation or not, in case of that, what we can say, the first statement is correct and the second statement is correct, but the reason is not at all suiting the assertion given there. So what we can say in case of that, the reason is not a correct explanation of the assertion. Both statements are true, both assertion and reason are true, but reason is not the correct explanation of the assertion. Clear with that? Clear? That's the answer to both assertion and reason are true, but reason is not the correct explanation of the assertion. Hope everything is perfect and fine till now. Okay. Next assertion is from the heredity and evolution. A genetist crossed a pea plant having violet flowers with pea plant with white flowers. He got all violet flowers in the first generation. So on crossing, what happened? What type of plants are taken first? A pea plant having violet flowers and a pea plant having white flowers. After crossing in the first filial generation, that is the first generation, what happened? He got all violet flowers, right? He got all violet flowers in the first filial generation. That's the F1 generation or the first generation, right? Everyone know that term, right? First filial generation. Oh my god. Yeah. Okay, fine. First filial generation. So the reason given is that white color gene is not passed on to the next generation. You have to check whether it is true or I mean whether the statement is true or false is the first step that we have to check. And after that, the second step that we have to check is whether the raised statement is the correct explanation of that assertion. Okay, if it is true, what we have to check whether it is the correct explanation of the assertion or not. So let's check what's given as the answer. So all of you, after reading the statement itself, what comes to your mind is that answer, right? All of you know this very basic thing. So when two plants are crossed in the first filial generation, that's a pea plant with violet flowers and a pea plant with white flowers are crossed. What happened? He got all violet flowers. So what is the reason for that? The white color gene is not at all passed on to the next generation, right? So both the assertion and reason are given in the assertion and reason given in the question is true, and the reason which is given as an explanation of the assertion is exactly right. So both assertion and reason are true, and reason is the correct explanation of the assertion. Clear with that? So next we have read the following questions and answer any four questions from 17.1 to 17.5. So five questions will be given in one part. That is for in the question number 17, there will be five subpart. And what you should do is that you should answer any four of that five questions. Okay, as per your convenience, you may answer the question. So let's check what's there in that part. All living cells require energy. The statement given is this one. Based on the statement, the further questions will be asked. All living cells require energy for various activities. This energy is available by the breakdown of simple carbohydrates, either using oxygen or without using oxygen. So all of you know this statement, right? Every metabolic process, every metabolic activities, we require energy in the form of ATPs, right? So how this energy is available for us? So this energy is formed by the breakdown of simple carbohydrate, either using oxygen or without using oxygen. Clear with that? So the first question based on that given is energy in case of higher plants and animals is obtained by. How is energy obtained in case of higher plants and animals? So how? Because higher plants and animals, whether the energy is absorbed by breathing, whether it is absorbed by tissue respiration, whether it is absorbed by organ respiration, whether it is absorbed by digestion of. It's a question asked. So we check onto that. What's the answer is in case of higher plants and animals, the energy is obtained by exactly tissue respiration. So that's the answer. Please go on commenting the answers. We have only a bit questions more in this session. Okay. So just continue and continue commenting the answers, and I'm available here in the chat box to make you correct. So since this is a premiering session, I cannot read or read up your names and comment or say aloud your answers which you are commenting. So in order to resolve the problem, surely I will be there in the chat box to resolve your thoughts. Okay, so let's take the answer of this question. Exactly, the answer given is tissue respiration. So energy in case of higher plants and animals is obtained by tissue respiration. The second part of this 17th question is that 17th question of your sample paper, right? The graph below represents blood lactic acid concentration of an athlete during a race of 400 meter and shows a peak at point D. Okay, so this is the graph given. Respiration in athletes was tested before, during, and after a 400-meter race. Okay, blood lactic acid concentration in metamole per liter and time in seconds is given as the x and y axis of the graph. And the graph is given with reference certain points like A, B, C, D, and E. And at point D, the graph below represents a blood lactic acid concentration of an athlete or during a 400-meter race. So this point is the maximum during the blood lactic acid formation. So let's take the part of the question. Lactic acid formation production has occurred in the athlete while running in the 400-meter running race. So by which of the following process given here, whether aerobic, whether anaerobic, whether fermentation or breathing, this process has occurred in the adult's body. Right? So this is a question asked. So all of you know how lactic acid formation causes muscle cramps in kids. So it is by the process of anaerobic respiration, where body respires in the absence of oxygen. Right? So that's the answer. Anaerobic respiration is the answer for the first. Okay, clear with that. The next part of the question. Study the graph below and that represents the amount of energy supplied with respect to the time while an athlete is running at a full speed. So look, x-axis and y-axis given. X-axis we have the time running at full speed in minute and energy supplied in percentage in the y-axis. So plot A and plot B are given. I hope the questions must be based on these plots, right? Because it's a graph given. So choose the correct combination of plot and justification provided in the table. Option A. Plot A shows aerobic respiration and plot B anaerobic respiration. Amount of energy is low and inconsistent in aerobic and high in anaerobic. No, never. Amount of energy is high and consistent in case of aerobic and low in case of anaerobic, right? As for the graph, it's given like that. So aerobic and anaerobic respiration, amount of energy, exactly option B. Without further reading the others, we can what say the answer of this question as plot A shows aerobic respiration and plot B shows anaerobic respiration. Yes, that's the answer. Aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration, amount of energy is high and consistent in aerobic and low in anaerobic respiration. Clear with that? So let's move with the fourth part of this question, and we have one more part that from the 17th question. The characteristic process observed in anaerobic respiration are first one, oh, two of those twos and those are given, right? The characteristic process observed in anaerobic respiration are presence of oxygen, release of carbon dioxide, release of energy, and release of lactic acid. Which of these are correct? So, for options are given. Which of the following statements given here is correct? Okay. So, anaerobic respiration, right? So the presence of oxygen, exactly wrong. So without option one, we have two options for the option. So anaerobic respiration releases 2 ADP molecules of energy, right? And it releases carbon dioxide. So and what releases lactic acid too. So the answer must be option C, right? Release of carbon dioxide, release of energy, and release of lactic acid, right? So the next part of the question, study the table given below and select the rows that has the correct information. Cytoplasm, mitochondria. End product, carbon dioxide in water, ethanol and carbon dioxide. In case of aerobic and anaerobic, right? Amount of energy, high, low. Amount of ATP, right? High, low. Oxygen, needed, not needed. So which among the following should give the incorrect information? So oxygen needed and oxygen not needed. Is that correct? Amount of ATP, 38 molecules of ATP and 2 molecules of ATP. That too is correct. In case of end product, CO2 and H2 is formed in case of aerobic respiration. In case of anaerobic, lactic acid is formed, that is due to the ethanol and CO2. In case of location, cytoplasm and mitochondria. Exactly, it is the correct information, incorrect information given here in the table, right? So that's all for the 17th question. Both all the questions still here in the one mark part was easy and perfect and fine, right? So if you work out more and more questions, you will be able to solve it easily. So that's all for today. Without wasting much time, just move on to your studies and just have a 25 minutes break. I'm not asking you to take 5 minutes, I'm asking you to take 25 minutes break. And after that, just be back to your studies without using your mobile phone. Okay. Just stay offline and just study. Right? That's the correct way of studying. By being this online courses, most of you are using all mobiles all the time without without focusing much on studies. So just leave that, focus on your studies because your board exams are near. Most of your schools are just reopening. So just focus and work hard. So that's all for today. It's me living from your favorite and my favorite biopoints in the world of bio. Bye bye.